Welcome everyone to Monday Morning Morons for July 29th, 2019. This week, let's begin with women's rights, because that's what all this feminism and social justice stuff is about, right? Women are oppressed and need some good old-fashioned equality just to even things out, right? Arizona woman can use fertilized embryos to get pregnant without ex's consent, court rules. A Phoenix woman can try to get pregnant using fertilized embryos without the consent of her ex-husband, who would become a father, the Arizona Court of Appeals ruled. In a 2-1 decision, the court found that Ruby Torres' right to procreate outweighs her ex-husband John Terrell's interest not to, a decision that leaned heavily on the couple's reasoning for preserving the embryos. The court acknowledged its decision could make Terrell financially responsible for the child. See what just happened there? Her rights outweigh his rights, because we live in a patriarchy, remember? So not only is she allowed to get pregnant using these embryos, but she gets to decide whether or not he is going to be financially liable and responsible for a child he doesn't want to have. They have quite literally decided that this man has no rights at all anymore. Once that sperm left his nuts, sorry buddy, all hers now. And you still think women need more rights? Are you fucking kidding me? Now, you might be thinking, hey, why didn't that guy think ahead, huh? Why didn't he get a prenup or a contract or some sort of legal agreement beforehand? Don't be an idiot. Protect yourself, bro. Well, Judge Maria Elena Cruz wrote the dissenting opinion. She emphasized that the couple signed a contract in 2014 agreeing not to use the embryos without mutual consent. He did get a contract. The agreement, signed at a fertility clinic, states that in the case of divorce or separation, the embryos cannot be used to create a pregnancy without the express written consent of both parties, even if donor gametes were used to create the embryos. Cruz criticized the majority of the court's ruling, stating it was explicitly prohibited by the contract. She said the lower court's decision should have been affirmed. Do contracts matter, she wrote? I believe they do. You see, he had a contract, and the court still disregarded it. When they made and stored these embryos, they both agreed that they both needed to consent to use them. Except now, he doesn't want to use them, so fuck him. Your rights are hereby suspended in favor of hers because women are so oppressed living in this patriarchal society of ours. What's next, Bob? LGB versus T, how the trans issue is dividing a movement. What do you expect from a movement with a power structure built entirely around who can be the greatest victim? Today there are tensions between a second-wave feminism that is worried about people who were born men co-opting their movement and a younger feminism that embraces all people who self-identify as women. The New View has largely won that fight, and this victory has influenced how the broader public discusses trans issues. Consider what happened to filmmaker Kimberly Pierce at Reed College in 2016. She had been invited to Reed College in the fall of 2016 for a screening of her landmark 1999 film Boys Don't Cry. The movie tells the true story of a transgender man who was murdered. Pierce herself has identified as a lesbian and genderqueer, and her movie contains a message of acceptance. To say that Pierce was not well received at Reed would be a considerable understatement. Students hung profane posters near the podium. One read, "You don't fucking get it." Waiting at the podium itself was a "fuck you" poster, and students screamed other explicatives at Pierce, bringing the event to an early close. Now I know what you're all wondering. What hideous, irredeemable sin she committed against the hive mind? Well, just wait for it. One would be forgiven for presuming that Reed must have been some kind of Christian fundamentalist college brimming with intolerant homophobic students, but alas, no. Reed is among the most liberal campuses in the country, according to Princeton Review. The students who jeered at Pierce were leftists. In the eyes of these students, Pierce was a traitor. For one thing, she cast the cisgendered Hilary Swank in the role of the trans character, a choice that marginalizes trans identities and contributes to trans erasure. For another thing, Pierce profited from the exploitation of a trans person. Her film depicted violence against a trans person. This was unforgivable in the students' view, even though it actually happened and Pierce's goal was to shed light on a tragic, socially significant event. Ding, ding, ding! We have a traitor! This woman dared to depict reality on screen. Burn her! Hang her! Cut her up into tiny little pieces and bury her alive! Yep, she committed the most heinous of all sins. She let an actress pretend to be something she's not. And then, as if we really needed any more grounds for immediate expulsion from and execution by the Klan, she went and told a true story that included some violence that actually happened. Who ever heard of such a fucking disgusting thing? You are disrupting our whole movement centered around trans people having to fight for their supposed lack of rights in a society that doesn't accept them and reacts violently to... hang on. I think I fucked that up. How dare you make a movie suggesting violence against trans people is wrong? We have an entire movement telling people that violence against trans people is wrong. Fuck, I did it again. I must be doing this wrong or something. Lucia Martinez, an assistant professor of English at Reed College, posted a comment on an article about the Pierce shutdown in which she confessed that these students terrify her. And they should, because if you don't teach them exactly what they want to hear, they declare you the bigot of some stripe and run you out of your job too. I am intimidated by these students, she wrote. I am scared to teach courses on race, gender, or sexuality, or even texts that bring up these issues in any way. And I am a gay mixed race woman. There is a serious problem here and at other select liberal arts colleges, and I'm at a loss to how to begin to address it, especially since many of these students don't believe in either historicity or objective facts. How do you address it? Simple. You start with, stop fucking paying for it. These programs and these so-called teachers generate no money. They can only exist by sucking money out of the productive people to create more drones who preach the same ridiculous nonsense they do. Cut off the siphon from which they keep drawing money and they will go away. They will starve right out of existence because they won't be able to support themselves with this utter bullshit they preach. They can't. It doesn't produce anything but an army of whiny, entitled fucking idiots who will not work because they believe the whole fucking world owes them something. Make them earn their own shit. They'll either quickly learn how fucking dumb they've been and adjust back to being at least responsible people, or they will soon inhabit our many homeless shelters and soup kitchens where they can keep right on babbling their insanity back and forth to each other until they die. Stop giving them jobs where they are paid to create more imbeciles repeating the same dogma. Stop funding these colleges that produce supposedly educated people with absolutely no job skills beyond bitching and protesting. Stop humoring them when they babble their complete fucking nonsense. Stop hoping you can just hide in the shadows until it all blows over. We've all been dumped into this cesspool together. It's sink or swim time now. Stand up and challenge these crazy fucking morons with facts, logic, and reason. Stop letting them brainwash your kids with this insane shit. Teach people why the stupid shit the Looney Tunes have been preaching is wrong. Show others that even though these morons are loud, they are not the majority of people, and you're not alone in opposing their lunacy. More importantly, show people how to think for themselves, and they'll figure out the rest on their own. Now, you may not be able to save these people because, Miss Martinez aptly points out, these fruitcakes don't believe in objective facts, and they don't live in reality, so they're probably too fucked up to save at this point. But at the very least, try to stop them from dragging future generations down the shitter with them. Now, speaking of reality that they don't believe in, here's a good example. UPenn Study on racism in Trump era smashes the left's narrative. A study from the University of Pennsylvania finds that racism in the U.S. has significantly decreased since President Trump's election in 2016. I can already hear the collective But his findings get even better. Hopkins, in an article for 538, detailed on Tuesday the study, which used 13 waves of panel surveys to gather data and determined that white racial prejudice against African American and Hispanic Americans has declined since 2016. So, not just an overall drop in overt racism, but specifically among white people. You know, the identitarian's evil boogeyman that must be crushed and annihilated at all costs because white people are so racist. And even worse, Hopkins noted that the fall in prejudice was present for both Democrats and Republicans. Oh my God! Did he just say that the freaking fascists aren't the racist assholes we keep calling them? Did he just say that Republicans aren't like literally Nazis? Yeah, turns out as a country, from all sides of the political spectrum, white people are actually even less racist than they were before Trump came around. Weird, right? I mean, if you were to watch any freaking news channel, you'd think the freaking Klan was all dressed up in their bed sheets, riding around on horseback, hooping and hollering around every damn street corner in America right now, but no, they aren't. Fewer and fewer of them every passing year. The big bad boogeyman the lunatics keep trying to scare us with is already dying, all on its own. And you know what? Tinfoil hat time. I think that is what's really pissing them off. They've built a billion-dollar industry around racial tensions. Entire careers have been made and milked out of this race-baiting bullshit. They can't let it die. For fuck's sake, if whites and blacks didn't hate each other, these assholes would have to get a real fucking job. All right, Bob, toxic time. Illinois woman stabbed boyfriend's genitals after he tried to break up. An Illinois woman stabbed her boyfriend's genitals last month because he tried to break up with her, police said Wednesday. The incident happened in Decatur, about 80 miles south of Peoria, on June 24th, according to police. The 43-year-old boyfriend told police he had tried to break up with his 30-year-old girlfriend, and she apparently refused. The woman grabbed the man in a bear hug from which he broke free, said Decatur police officer Tim Whitmer. She then grabbed her boyfriend's genitals and began to pull and tug at these body parts to the point that it was painful, Whitmer added. The boyfriend felt a very sharp pain and observed a large laceration on his scrotum area, Whitmer said. He added that the wound was 5 to 6 inches in length and half an inch deep. The woman was arrested Sunday on a preliminary charge of aggravated domestic battery, the Herald and Review reported. Her identity was not released. Court records indicate she remained in jail Wednesday in lieu of posting $50,000 bond. Wow, men sure are toxic, aren't they? I mean, the freaking nerve of this guy trying to break up with a woman. What in the hell is wrong with that guy? Don't you know you can't do that, you misogynist pig? On a side note, I'm wondering why her identity was not released. She's clearly not a minor, she's 30. Bit odd. They released names of every other accused perpetrator, but not this one. Kind of curious why. Anyway, that's it for this week. Remember the social justice mantra: women are victims, men are oppressors, and feminism is just about equality. I'll see you all next time.